Hello everyone, this is Dave Lipscomb, Director of Strategic Communications for PBI. Welcome back to Corporate Pro Bono's CLO and Pro Bono podcast series. This week's episode features Susie Lees, Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Allstate Insurance Company. We talked to Susie about her career at Allstate, the company's commitment to be a force for good, and the department's various pro bono efforts, including representing individuals seeking expungement or clemency, survivors of domestic violence, immigrants, and others. Susie also shared her thoughts on the many benefits of pro bono for legal departments and companies. Susie will be discussing integrating in-house pro bono and corporate social responsibility at a session we are hosting at the Association of Corporate Counsel annual meeting in San Francisco later this month. We'll share more information about that session at the end of the interview. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion. Hi, Susie. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Let's jump right in, and let's get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself, your legal department, and its pro bono program.
Great. Thank you, David. It's my pleasure to be able to talk with you today. I am currently the Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary for Allstate Insurance Company, which everyone probably knows already is one of the largest property casualty insurers in the United States. I joined Allstate right out of law school as a part-time attorney, which was somewhat a novelty back then, and I think even today that's somewhat of a novelty. I happen to have had my first two children while I was in law school, so when I joined Allstate, it was really a wonderful opportunity for a young mom to get her career started and only have to work 3 days a week. So Allstate provided me with such a great opportunity. I've been here for the past 28 years. I've worked in just about every department in the law department during the course of my career, generally focused on mergers and acquisitions. And at one point, I was the general counsel in our life and retirement business. About 4 years ago, I became the general counsel of the entire organization. I have a law department that consists of about 1,400 employees located across the United States and also in Canada. In that group, we have approximately 700 lawyers. And I always like to tell people that our department is a little bit unique as far as corporate in-house departments go, because not only do my lawyers represent the company, I have about 500 plus lawyers across the country that actually represent our customers when they have usually some form of an auto accident and they get sued. So it is an unusual situation, and lawyers who come and join our department have a choice when they're looking at the types of opportunities that we have, whether they represent the company or potentially go to our staff counsel offices and represent our insureds. With regard to our pro bono program, I'm proud to say that it's a program that's been in operation for about the last 10 years. Like many pro bono programs across this country, it is changing and growing each and every year. We have what I would consider to be both traditional pro bono opportunities, and that would be usually work that involves lawyers representing clients at legal aid clinics and whatnot. But we also have some other parts of our program for some of our non-legal professionals in the department. And we have some unique offerings there. We actually have an on-site garden here, and we donate the produce from the garden to local food pantries. We also service such groups as street law across the country, and I believe we are the largest provider of pro bono type services to street law. And we also have done some work with Chicago Debate. We help them with some of their programs, either as serving as judges or giving them various venues that we organize and oversee for their programs. Some of our traditional partners in the pro bono area are Cabrini Green Legal Aid, which is a legal aid group here in the Chicago area, Lawyers for the Creative Arts, the Center of Disability and Elder Law, and most recently we've gotten involved due to a new employee who has brought her passion with her to Allstate. We've gotten involved with the National Immigrant Justice Center. So that just sort of gives you a flavor for some of the groups that we're involved in.
Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the legal pro bono projects that you work on? You mentioned some of the organizations. How about some of the projects that you do with them?
One group that we have what I would consider to be a fairly extensive arrangement with is Cabrini Green Legal Aid. So the work that we do with them involves, it started with their expungement desk. They have an expungement desk down in the city, and once a month we have volunteers that staff that desk, and basically the clients come in and my folks will interview them and do some research on the records and help make recommendations whether they are potential candidates for expungement. That led to some additional work that we started doing with Cabrini Green because if they're not eligible for expungement, their only option to get something off their record would be clemency. So we started doing clemency work as well, which involves helping clients draft their statements or their petitions that they go in front of a board, and eventually it would end up, if all goes well, on the desk of the governor for signature. In addition to that, for Lawyers for the Creative Arts, one of the things that my folks typically would do would be to review contracts for clients that go to that center. At the Center of Disability and Elder Law, we do a lot of medical and property powers of attorney and living wills. And on the immigration side, we're just sort of getting into this work, but a typical project might be an asylum petition for a victim of domestic violence. So that would be finding sort of paths to citizenship depending on what would be required under the circumstances.
Switching gears a little bit here, tell us why pro bono is so important to law department leaders, to the business community, legal department and legal staff, to the greater community at large, and what are some of the benefits of pro bono work?
Well, that's really a loaded question. It's something that we've thought about long and hard, but Allstate kind of made it easy, I think, for any general counsel here. At Allstate, we have a shared purpose, which really has volunteerism at its core, and it's basically to be a force for good. And in addition to that, at Allstate, we believe that everyone is a leader, and we have 6 leadership principles, and the first one happens to be to serve others. So from the standpoint of pro bono, I think it's a natural fit as an Allstate employee because we can bring certain skills as lawyers to the table that others might not be able to. And when you're out being a force for good, one of the things that you bring is your skills. You also bring your experiences. So we believe that pro bono would fit naturally with Allstate's shared purpose. In addition, when the law department sat down a number of years ago and put together its vision statement, it only has 3 parts to it. One is extraordinary service, the second is continuous development, and the third was vital communities. And so all of this fits really nicely, and when employees join us, they usually are very excited to hear about the pro bono program that we have. Our employees that have watched it grow and have grown with it, I think, are very excited to be able to bring some of their passions to work. And some of the side benefits to all of that really is that, and I always feel very selfish about this, is I get to have my folks out doing really good work, and they are developing themselves. Sometimes they're doing work that they don't have the chance to do here at the office and getting better at things like drafting, interviewing clients, perhaps standing in front of an administrative board and participating in a hearing. These are just more experiences that will make them all better lawyers or better paralegals or just better employees in general. And so from the standpoint of, if I had to stand in front of my CEO and let him know why I put a certain amount of my assets behind this program, I think I have all sorts of good news to tell him with regard to the benefits that ultimately the company reaps. It's also great from a retention and acquisition of employees, because I think when you look at particularly the millennials, they're looking for places to work where they can bring their passions each and every day. And although I'd like to think that passion comes from sitting in a meeting here at Allstate and talking about ways to make our products better for our customers, I think that generally with people today, that's only part of what drives their passions. And if you can bring them opportunities where they can give back, you sort of double the pleasure with regard to working at a company like Allstate.
Your department is a signatory to the Corporate Pro Bono Challenge Initiative. Tell us why that's important.
Well, I think particularly when we started that program, it kind of put a stake in the ground, and it gave us sort of a place to keep coming back to when new people come in or you start looking at how you're spending your time and your energy. So we made that commitment, and we are continuing to try and live into it. I also think it helps you, or people like me, when I go out and I'm with other general counsels or I'm in industry organizations and whatnot, it is sort of common language that you can use with people with regard to what it means to have a pro bono program and what it is that you're striving for. So I can't say that we're done now and we can pack this up and put it on the shelf. I think that we need to continually look back at why we signed on to it, and are we, questioning each year, are we living into it, and are we doing as much as we can?
As a chief legal officer, what role do you play in encouraging pro bono within your department and the legal community?
I think in general, my number one role is a cheerleader. I think it's up to me to make sure that I acknowledge when people are participating that it is important, that I take the time to listen to my employees and hear about what it is they're doing and how they feel about it. A really good example is some of these clemency petitions that we're doing. People actually stop me sometimes in the cafeteria and say, oh my gosh, let me tell you about the hearing. Let me tell you what my client did. This was the most incredible project or opportunity that I've ever had. And taking the time to listen and ask them questions. And then sometimes, I'll follow up with an email. I think that means a lot to sort of be personally invested as the cheerleader. I think on a more global level, my job is to get other general counsels to bring programs into their organizations. And one of the things that I've done is I've tried to take opportunities when I meet with other general counsels to let them know what we're doing and to offer up, particularly for small in-house departments, the opportunity to piggyback onto some of our activities. For instance, when we got involved with CGLA, or Cabrini Green Legal Association, I happened to, around that same time when I was getting more involved with them, I met the general counsel at the time at Walgreens, which is just down the street from Allstate, their corporate headquarters. And we ended up having some conversations and talking about things that we had in common, running our law departments. And I invited them in to meet some of the folks at CGLA and see if they would be interested in also participating. And I've done that many times. And with small departments, we've brought them in for programs. we're going to have a pro bono fair here next year in February, and I'm going to invite some local organizations, including CGLA and a fairly new legal aid clinic right here in our own backyard, to come in, bring some of their folks. Everybody will get a chance to give a little, elevator speech about what they do, answer questions, and we'll have lawyers not just from my department, but from some of the surrounding corporations, and hopefully drum up support as well. So I think there's a very big role for general counsels to play, and I think in one word you can sort of capture it with the word sharing, that you can really share what it is you do, help spur others to develop programs, and I think alleviate any fears someone might have that somehow this might be a drag on their resources, or that it is too complicated to manage, or maybe people feel like, oh, I've got to do this because the general counsel wants to do it. So however it comes across to other general counsels, if it gets them encouraged to participate and become yet another passionate group for pro bono work, it's a wonderful thing.
Let's jump on that word share. Can you share an example of a pro bono project that you're particularly proud of, or that's been especially meaningful to you or the department?
Yes. In the past year, about a year ago, one of our partner law firms came to us, and we were talking about how we could expand our role with CGLA. And one of the issues I think with pro bono that we all face is how do you make sure that you're providing services and you have the right skills and abilities to do it, right? We're all worried that, oh my gosh, you don't want to somehow disadvantage a client any more than they already are by somehow not knowing the right words to use or forgetting some particular language that needs to go into a petition. So we partnered with Dentons in this case, and together we funded a fellow at CGLA. The fellow spends some time at Allstate to provide our folks, because it's both attorneys and non-attorneys who do these clemency petitions. And so we basically set up an infrastructure that had a lot of support. We had Denton's lawyers paired with whoever in my shop was going to do a petition, and we had the fellow, so the sort of a triangle of support. And with that, we made a commitment that together we were going to try and do 50 clemency petitions this year, which is really unheard of, quite frankly. And we needed to sort of sell the program, make people, aware of it, take away all the fears that somehow I've never written a clemency petition, how could I possibly do that? And so far, we're going to meet our 50, and now my job is going to be to get in front of Governor Rauner. I've already been and talked to his general counsel and some of his staff, but my goal is to get in front of Governor Rauner and help him understand better what these clemency petitions are and how we're going about selecting the clients to do the petitions for, and see if we can get him to sign more of them, because we are really backed up on that front. And if we can't get the support of the governor and his office, then all the work we do is really for naught, because without him signing the petitions, these folks can't get these old matters off their records and get on with their hopes and dreams and the careers that they want to have.
Just to close out, in what direction would you like to see pro bono move going forward?
I think really the digital revolution is going to take pro bono to the next level, which is where I'd like to see it. As you contemplate putting together the framework for a pro bono program, one of the issues is really access to the clients and training. So generally, a lot of the clinics and groups that do this work that are looking for the volunteers, they generally are in cities. So we're sitting out here in suburban America and trying to figure out how we get our folks down to the city, through the traffic and everything else so that they can provide these services. The more that we can do online and virtually, the more access the in-house groups are going to have to pro bono clients, and the more access pro bono clients are going to have to legal services. So I would just like to see over time letting technology really erase these barriers. The other thing that technology will do, it'll help, you can put together training programs. I just mentioned that fellow that we have from CGLA. Well, what if she could just record some training programs, and then I could make those available to even other corporations in this area or my folks down the road. So the other thing that we've done is provide some of these groups with the tools, because that's what they really need too, right? So if they've got clients and we need to reach them virtually, let's say with FaceTime or something, they're going to need laptops and iPads and whatever. So we've done some of that. We've hooked up with some of our vendors that recycle some of these materials, and we've gotten them to some of our legal aid groups so that they can use them. So the long and the short of it is, I think more people will get involved when it's easier and more high-tech.
Susie, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
You are welcome. I enjoyed it as well.
Thank you for listening to our interview with Susie Lees, Executive Vice President and General Counsel of Allstate Insurance Company. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us again for future episodes of the CLO and Pro Bono podcast series. To stay up to date on our podcast, subscribe to iTunes or visit cpbo.org/podcast. In addition, for those headed to the ACC annual meeting in San Francisco, October 16th through 19th, we hope you will attend the panel CLOs on the Intersection of Pro Bono and Corporate Social Responsibility, featuring Susie Lees and moderated by PBI President and CEO Eve Runyon. For more information about in-house pro bono, the CPBO Challenge Initiative, and CPBO's slate of programs at the ACC annual meeting, visit CPBO's website at cpbo.org. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.